Listen, choose wisely when you're booking to be a vendor at one of these vendor events. Know what to look for and know the different things that will work benefit for you to make sure that the vendor event that you're going to vendor at is a good fit for you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, keep on watching. Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Taj with Taj Beauty Emporium, and let's just jump on in this thing. So I say vendor events, but I know that it is commonly known as pop-up shops. But I just want to point out the fact that there is a difference between a vendor event and a pop-up shop. I know a lot of times we say pop-up shop when we're talking about vendor events, but there is a difference between a vendor event and a pop-up shop. A pop-up shop is when a business takes on a brick and mortar location for a small amount of time, and they set up shop, and then after a couple of months, most of the time, then they kind of move on. That is a pop-up shop. But I know, a lot of times we call pop-up shops, we say pop-up shops, but we're talking about vendor events. A vendor event is when you are a vendor, a business, you are a vendor at an event where there's other vendors, where you pay a boot rent or a price for a table, and you set up your product, or your in a small space, and there's other vendors that's there, and customers are kind of walking around and shopping the different businesses. That is a vendor event. Okay, so that's the difference. I just wanted to, even though I know I may slip up and say pop-up shop during the video, because that's kind of what a lot of people call it, but there is a difference between a pop-up shop and a vendor event. But I'm really solely talking about vendor events. So if you hear me say pop-up shop throughout the video, I'm really talking about vendor events. And I want to say that you have to be mindful when you are booking to be a vendor at a vendor event. There are some hosts out here that is really just trying to get over on a lot of the small businesses. And if you don't know what you're looking for, if you don't know what to look out for, then you're going to fall victim to it. Okay. So there are some pros in being a vendor at a vendor event. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're first starting out, it is a way to be able to get your business out there, to get your name out there, to get your product out there. People who probably don't know who you are, never seen you, and probably never would have seen you or came across your social media or whatever, or your business, they have the opportunity. You have the opportunity to get in front of a lot of people, if the host has been promoting the way that they should be promoting. So that's a good thing. Even if you don't sell at a vendor event, I wouldn't count it as a complete loss, because I know with me, when I first started out, I was doing vendor events back to back to back to back, and every year I would do one for Essence. So and not just with Essence, but I mean, when I first started, I was doing pop-up shops, but I was doing vendor events like every weekend. But there are a lot of pros in doing it. And so even if you don't sell anything, it's still a good experience, because you get to give out business cards, you get to meet different people, have conversate with a lot of people, have them follow your social media accounts. You just kind of get to interact with people who probably never would have came across your social media or came across your business. So there is a good way. You also get to network with other business owners, small business owners, and you kind of get the ins and out. Depending on who else is vendoring and how friendly the crowd is, but you kind of get to network with other business owners. You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of times, I know with me, when I would do pop-up shops, and once we would all set up our tables or whatever, then before the actual event start, we would kind of walk around and mingle with each other and kind of just get exchange business cards and stuff like that. And with that being said, like, a lot of times it got to the point where I didn't even have to look for vendor events. They would just slide in my DMs like, hey, this weekend there's a vendor event opportunity, or whatever the case may be. So it gets to the point where you don't have to go looking for it. It'll actually come to you. Okay, so with that being said, there are some pros with vending at a vendor event, but there are some cons as well that you need to look out for these cons you actually can look out for and kind of I guess I can say you can kind of avoid even falling victim to it, okay? Because you have some vendor events where the host um is kind of getting over on the small businesses. It's really about them, and it's not really about you or the the businesses that they have and that's vendoring at their event. So let's talk about some of the things that you could avoid and the things that you could look out for before even booking with a vendor. Booking as a vendor, if that makes sense. Um, so one of the things I was saying is choose these vendor events wisely. First thing is um, who is hosting the event. Okay, now let's talk about this. Let's kind of dive into this. If you have a business, a big business that is hosting the event, it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, right? It could be a good thing because if the person or the business that's hosting it is very known, that means that they're gonna bring a crowd of people. You should be promoting as well, but let's be honest. If you are a small business and you're starting out and you're vending at an event, your sole purpose on vending is to be able to get in front of customers that you would never be getting in front of. Your whole point into doing this is to be able to get your name out there and get seen. So you're really depending on the crowd that the host is bringing in. Otherwise, if you're already big and you're already known and you're already, established, you 9 times out of 10, you're not even doing these type of vendor events that I'm talking about. Okay, because you don't need to. The reason why a lot of times small businesses do these events is because they're trying to be seen. They're trying to get out there. So if the host is not promoting it and the crowd is not coming, then it really didn't benefit you to even pay money to vendor at this event. Okay, so a lot of times they'll tell you that you need to be promoting it. It's true, you do need to promote it on your page as well. But the sole purpose of you doing these events, like I said, is to depend on the crowd that the host is going to bring in. Okay, and 9 times out of 10, if they are doing the event, they probably have a good amount of following to where they're positive or they're comfortable or confident that they're going to bring in a crowd, right? So let me break it down a little bit more. If I decided that I wanted to host a vendor event or a pop-up shop, right? I would feel like I have enough following or enough reach to where if I charge other small businesses to have a booth, although I do want them to promote it, I'm confident enough that I feel like my purpose of doing this event is not only to help benefit me, right? But it's also to give a shot to all the other vendors. But if I'm not going to bring in a crowd, then why would they want to pay me to vendor at my event? You see what I'm saying? So it's not solely on them to promote. It's really for me to promote it. Okay, it's really for me to promote it. If they had a huge following, they wouldn't even need to be at my event. They can just host their own event. Okay, if that makes sense. So another thing to look for is, so you want to make sure that the person who's hosting it, if they've done it before, if they've done vendor events before, how well did they promote? How big of a crowd did they bring out? If you know anybody who's actually vendored at their event, did they make any money? Did they at least make their boot rent back? Like, how successful were the previous events that this particular host put on? Okay, you have to be careful when the host is in the same line of business that you are in and they're very, very popular. Okay, story time. So this happened to me quite a few times, and after about the third or fourth time, I was kind of like, I'm not going to do this anymore. There was one particular host that was very, very, very popular, huge following, crazy sales. but was in the same line of business that I was, and I would always do their events. Um, while you would think that that would be a good thing, it really wasn't. The reason why it wasn't is because this person brought in a whole lot of people. But the people that they brought in was only there to support them. So basically, you had a huge crowd of people that would come into the event, go directly to that particular person's, booth, pretty much purchase up everything and then leave. They would not walk around to look at the other vendors. They would not, and if very few did, and when they did, it was just kind of browsing. But their sole purpose was to go and shop at that particular vendor. Okay, that the host's booth. They weren't there to shop at a vendor event. They were there to shop with that particular individual. So it was like all the other businesses, all the other vendors were just sitting there not making any money. Meanwhile, the host had a huge crowd making all the money, and this is not just one time, making all of this, these sales with this huge crowd, and making money off of the small businesses that actually paid to vendor, but it didn't benefit them because the event was not promoted as a vendor event. The event was pretty much people coming to shop with this particular business or this particular vendor, and not this host and not the other vendors. So what am I trying to say? If you know that the host of a vendor event is in the same line of business, they're selling as well, okay? They have a huge following, and you know that the event was promoted as their event and not a vendor event to shop with other like there's not going to be other vendors there. I would suggest that you don't do it. I would suggest you don't do it. Because if the crowd is coming for that particular vendor and that vendor only, then you pretty much would have to harass and run around and try to get people to come to you. You want people to walk past you, and then you can kind of stir up a conversation with them or stop them as they walk by. But if they never come that way, they only come in, shop at that particular vendor because that particular vendor is right in the front, and so they shop there and then they go back out. You never got a chance. This happened like 3 or 4 times with me, and then I've seen it happen with the same vendor, the same host with other small businesses that I know, said the same thing. So it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. You want to make sure that the event is promoted as a vendor event and not a pop-up shop for an individual business or an individual person. Like, you want to make sure that they're promoting all businesses and not just that one particular business. You want to make sure that when the crowd comes out, they're coming out with the intention on not necessarily shopping with everybody, but they're coming out with the intention of being able to browse and move around the event. Not just come in and their sole purpose is to go to that one host and then leave out. Because then you pretty much wasted your time, your money, your energy, your effort. So that's something that you want to make sure that you're looking into before booking as a vendor at a vendor event. Okay. Because at that point it's about them and not about you. A lot of times they say that you need to promote the event. While you should promote the event and let your followers know that you're going to be at XY, Z location, that is not your job to promote that event. You're paying to be a vendor at that event for a reason. And the reason reason is because you feel like this particular event is going to bring in a crowd that you would not normally be around, that you would not normally have a reach to or be seen by. Okay. If you had a huge following, if you had, you know, sales to where you feel like you need to be, you probably wouldn't even be worried about doing um a vendor event. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of work into doing a vendor event. It may look like you just going in, setting up, selling your product and leaving, but baby, it takes a lot of work to go in, set up, and do everything that you need. It takes a lot, just the preparations of being able to get ready for a vendor event is a lot within itself. So to do all of that, get to the event, and then there's not even a crowd of people. They didn't bring in a crowd. Let's talk about if they don't even have a crowd. Let's talk now. I said about, the crowd coming in, but they're coming in just for one particular vendor and then they leave. But let's talk about if the vendor or the host didn't even bring in a crowd. They didn't even bring in a crowd. So you can't sell to somebody if there ain't nobody there. So you need to make sure that you're looking at, when you decide that you want to do a vendor event, look and see if that host had any past events. What was the turnout? How was the crowd? Was it marketed correctly? Did they do a lot of marketing and promoting on social media? How was they promoted? Did they promote just themselves, or did they promote all businesses that will be there? You know, you want to look at all of that before you decide to spend money to be a vendor at a vendor event, because a lot of times you find some crooked hosts. You find these hosts that are not in it to help support other businesses and push other businesses. They're only there to pretty much get your money, okay, and then you just kind of on your own. You don't want that, okay, because your sole purpose of doing a vendor event is because you want to be able to get around a crowd that you normally wouldn't get around. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have the following yet. You don't have the online sales yet. So you feel like, okay, this is a way that I can promote myself and get myself out there. But if the host is not promoting the event and there's no crowd, then you kind of waste your time and your money. Okay. Have you ever been in a situation like that where you feel like you've done a vendor event, or, as they say, a pop-up shop, and you felt like the host did not do a good job at promoting, or there wasn't a huge crowd, so you really didn't benefit from it? Did you feel like you wasted your money? Do you feel like it was because of you, or do you feel like it was because of the host or the event? Like, I would like to know if any of you are having the same, or have had the same issues. What do you look for when you're booking a vendor event? I would like to know. Drop down in the comments and let's talk about it. If you like this video today, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos, and hit the notification bell so you could be notified each and every time I upload. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.